Network is what it's all about.
I think networking is so important.
Networking is important both professionally and just socially.
Most of the jobs I have are a result of networking.
I always recommend, reaching out to somebody. I also invite people to reach out to me anytime that they can.
Networking is a term that makes me uncomfortable because I'm not a schmoozer. But ultimately what networking is always portraying yourself well, working really hard.
It's all about meeting people.
You just never know who you're going to run into.
You never know who you meet is going to come back in your life or you might want to call on.
Maybe that person that you meet at the bus stop or down at the restaurant might be your ticket to your next job opportunities.
I knew a general officer while I was in the National Guard. And I did something for his son, who was an Air Force airman, and he remembered years later, as a matter of fact. And so I was doing my vice principal job and not really thinking of moving on. And I get this call. This general officer says, listen, Governor Ducey's transitioning his team, and they have a vacancy now in this position, and I thought of you first. And he said, I need you to get your resume in today, and they'll be calling you. And so I did it. I put my resume in. 2 weeks later, I got a call. And they said, we'd like to interview you. 3 months later, I had the job. And so I think he just made that connection that, she really helped my son do this thing. And so I know that she will do the job that's been asked of her. I know she will do it well. And I think he recommended to somebody, and I think that's why I got the job.
I think personal interaction is so important.
I know nowadays everybody spends a lot of time on their phones and it's always looking down at that little screen, but I think it's very important to not forget that, we're humans and we like to interact with each other and we should be interacting with each other in person.
Don't be afraid of face-to-face. It's impressive to meet a young person who is not afraid to come up and say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm looking for this.
Community service is a really easy way to do that. You meet people in those arenas, and then they're the people who will give you that little nugget of information that, hey, there's a job opening. And, I'll tell my boss about you.
So every opportunity you have to work with a premier entity or a really good group of people, take advantage of that, even if it's not readily apparent how that's going to help you. These things come around.
If there are job fairs, if there are places to go to meet people, networking events specific to your interest, it's important to go there, have a person see a face, and don't be afraid to go to high-end events where people with decision-making power show up, and then follow up. But stay in touch both socially, but also online. Online helps you find more and more places to meet people.
When I was doing my internship search the past couple summers, I just posted on our Facebook page and asked, hey, do you know anyone in this industry? And it was amazing the response that I got of people that were like, oh yes, my brother is in medical devices, or my cousin, or my friend's babysitter. It was kind of ridiculous how many people had these connections.
You have to be savvy online.
LinkedIn is a phenomenal tool to do it.
If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one as an undergrad. Even though you're an undergrad, people check that out all the time.
One of the things that really can kind of separate me and really anybody else as a candidate is the LinkedIn profile.
I always recommend, reaching out to somebody through LinkedIn. It's a great channel. It allows you to send personal emails, to connect, to follow somebody.
When I was a freshman, I was involved in a program called Eller Elite, and they encouraged us to make a LinkedIn profile. And I really never thought that some online website would be so beneficial until later down the road. And through that, I've really built such a great network. I've connected with so many different people in the industry that I'm interested in, and I've actually got to know a lot of different people through that. So that was probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned, is just ask anyone, like, hey, do you know someone in this industry, or do you know something about this? And people are more than willing to help you. So I think being open and being courteous.
People remember.
There may be one or two people that you're going to come across in your professional life or when you're done with school that you worked on a project with, and they're going to know that you did a good job and you were a good team member, and they're going to go to bat for you and help you get that job you want.
Use all the resources you've got. Use your alumni association. They're really trying to help you find a job.
At Career Services, a lot of different people have put me in contact either with recruiters or family friends or anyone that they know. So pretty much anything that I'm involved in, I've asked around and have really honed in on my network and seen what I can get from it, and it's actually worked out really well.
So I think that anytime you're in any sort of professional experience, doing your hardest and being prepared, that got me those networking availabilities that really really affected my life down the line.
And that's all you need to get the job, really. Because once you're in there and interview, and as long as you're prepared for the interview, that little recommendation is sometimes the thing that will get you the job.
That's a trust factor. If I know that I respect your opinion, you say, I know this person, they're probably going to get an interview even without the resume. Whereas otherwise, without that, you might be one of 100 people who's applied for the digital strategy job.
And so that really led me to realize that your network is so important and you don't really know who's in it until you ask.
When you get into the business world, that network becomes even more important.
Especially in the business world, you really need to network. It's pretty much who you know, not always what you know.
So I would definitely encourage freshmen to really get involved and start asking questions and building their network right away.